നാരായണാഖിലഗുരോ ഭഗവൻ നമസ്തേ ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പ. Good morning and pranamam to everyone who has joined. With the blessings of our Punya Guruvayurappan, we are holding our seventh session of our Narayaneeyam series. Today we are continuing Dashakam 4. We covered the first 7 slokas of Dashakam 4 last class. We'll continue from there. Before we begin, we'll have an invocation.
Krishna Guruvayurappa Sharanam Gajananam Bhutaganati Sevitam Kapittajambhu Phalasara Bhakshitam Umasutam Shoka Vinashakaranam Namami Vikhneshwara Pada Pankajam Shuklam Bharadaram Vishnum Shashivarnam Chadurbhujam Prasanna Dhyayet Sarva Viknopashantaye Krishna Guruvayurappa Sharanam.
You can see the screen?
Yes.
Narayana. So we are continuing our discussion on Dashakam 4. If you remember, we discussed the first 7 slokas of Dashakam 4 last time, where Bhattathiri took us through the Ashtanga Yoga, which is the 8 limbs of Ashtanga Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga means 8-limbed yoga. So Bhattathiri took us through each of those limbs of the Ashtanga Yoga system, where he started off with Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. If you remember, Bhattacharya expressed each of these systems, steps of the or the limbs of the Ashtanga Yoga in each of his individual slokas. For example, in the first or the second sloka, he addressed Yama Niyama, then and Asana. Then he addressed in the next sloka he addressed Pranayama and Pratyahara, and then in the last 3 slokas he addressed Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi respectively. But Adri also emphasized the importance of practicing Yama and Niyama. He said he will practice Yama Niyama for a long period, and with that, establishing in Yama and Niyama. Yama are the ethics, the 5 ethics that we need to practice. Niyama includes the specific rules that we have to follow on a daily basis. And then with that established, he mentioned asana, which is the Sthira Sugam Asanam. That's what Bhattacharya said, or addressed in the Yoga Sutras. That is the posture that gives us long duration, that we can maintain for long duration without any discomfort, a stable posture that is essentially taking us towards Bhagavan. So the goal of this Ashtanga Yoga, as mentioned in the Yoga Sutras and as Bhattacharya is emphasizing, is for us to reach towards Bhagavan, to calm our mind, to focus our mind on Bhagavan and to merge with Bhagavan. That is where this Ashtanga Yoga has been prescribed. So he mentioned asana for that. Once established in asana, and he mentioned pranayama, the regulation of our vital energy, or the mode, and then through that, activating our energy centers. Then he mentioned pratyahara, the ability to withdraw ourselves, look from our awareness, being our awareness and look at our thoughts and being able to withdraw our energies inside. That is called pratyahara. Then he mentioned dharana, that is once you achieve till pratyahara, you are in a state, you have reached a stage of being able to meditate on Bhagavan. So till you have to practice yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, and then we enter to the stage of meditation, where he starts with dharana, where we try to focus our mind on Guruvayurappan. Whenever our mind runs away, we bring it back and fixes it on Guruvayurappan. That's dharana. And then we spoke about dhyana, when Bhattacharya addressed dhyana, where we are in one pointed focus, in single pointed focus on Guruvayurappan. And that is the meditative state. That is the state that you achieve from after you practice dharana. That is the state that we achieve, which is dhyana. And then he mentioned the samadhi state, where we are one with that Guruvayurappan. And in Bhattacharya mentioned both Savikalpa Samadhi and Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And he said that our goal is to attain that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And he also, in the last sloka, he mentioned that in case, if ever he drops or he falls from that samadhi state, from that Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, he mentioned that he will again practice dharana and dhyana to reach that samadhi state. So he emphasized that his primary goal is to achieve that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, that is one with that Brahman. That is his prime goal. Then he emphasized that. And that is the nature of a Jivanmukta. We kind of mentioned it in the end, and we'll see from there in today's session, starting off with sloka 8. Before I start, I want to mention that the next couple of slokas are highly technical, and so I will appreciate everyone paying close attention to what is being discussed and maybe revisiting this because of the technical nature of the things that Bhattacharya is addressing in the next couple of slokas. So starting off with sloka 8.
इत्थमभ्यसननिर्भरो लसत्वत्परात्मसुखकल्पितोत्सवाः मुक्तभक्तकुलमौलितां गताः सञ्चरेमशुकनारदादिवत्. അടിയങ്ങൾ ഇപ്രകാരം യോഗാഭ്യാസം കൊണ്ട് ഏറ്റവും പ്രകടമാകുന്ന അവിടുന്ന് തന്നെയായ പരബ്രഹ്മാനന്ദം കൊണ്ടുണ്ടായ ഹർഷാതിരേകത്തോടു കൂടിയവരായി ജീവൻ മുക്തരായ ശിരോമണികളായി തീർന്നിട്ട് ശുകൻ, നാരദൻ മുതലായവരെ പോലെ സഞ്ചരിക്കുമാറാകട്ടെ.
So Bhattacharya is next in this sloka, he's talking about the people who have thus achieved Bhagavan, who have achieved this Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So he starts with Ittam Abhyasan, in this manner, by constantly practicing this yoga called Ashtanga Yoga, the system of Ashtanga Yoga. Anirbara Ullasan, self-supportively enjoying, that is, they are freely enjoying. Once they are established in this yoga system, once they practice and they are established in this yoga system, they are then one with Bhagavan, right? And therefore they are they are enjoying freely because they have come out of all bondages. They are in with Bhagavan, so they are freely enjoying their life. Okay, so that's what Bhattacharya says, self-supportively, freely enjoying because of their practice of yoga. Tvat paratma sugha, thy supreme bliss, the Brahman, the Guruvayurappan. So they are fully in that Brahman state. They are in that supreme bliss. So therefore they are free. They are freely enjoying that supreme bliss because they have been practicing yoga. And Bhattacharya is talking about people who practice yoga. And here also he is saying not about himself. He is talking about all of us who should practice yoga. Because Bhattacharya emphasized it before. He is not talking about just himself. He is talking about everyone who is learning Narayaneeyam, because this is for the betterment of individuals, right? So the supreme bliss of Brahman, they are established in that Brahman. Kalpit utsavaha, resulting from the experience of Brahman and reveling in it. So they are experiencing Brahman. They are one with that Brahman and they are reveling in it. They are in their Atma Swarupam. That because of the constant practice of yoga, they are one with that Brahman and then reveling in that Brahman. Mukta Bhakta Kula, amongst the clan of the liberated devotees who are Jivanmuktas and your devotees. That takes you to a next stage, which is the state of Jivanmukta. Whoever practices this yoga and then attains Brahman, Bhagavan, they become liberated. They are essentially in a clan. They become a new class of people. They are the liberated people or the devotees. They are termed as Jivanmuktas. And what is Jivanmukta? We will see next. Now what Bhattacharya continues, Maulidam Gadaha, they attain supremacy. Such people, they attain supremacy. That is the supreme status. There is no other supreme status in the world. The supreme status is being one with that Brahman. So these people who have practiced yoga and who are fully established in this Brahman, in that Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, they are essentially becoming Jivanmuktas. And they are also Bhagavan's devotees. And it's important to note that Jivanmuktas and your devotees. That means even though they became Jivanmukta, they are not dropping Bhagavan. They are still holding on to Bhagavan. They still need that. Bhagavan's grace is still needed to be in that state. So they are Jivanmuktas and they still are devotees of Guruvayurappan. And therefore they attain supremacy. Sanjarema, they move about freely. They are therefore free of any attachments of the external world. They are therefore freely moving about in this world. Like Shuga Narada Adivat, like people like the great sages like Shuga, and Narada and others who are of that state. So if Bhattacharya is saying that we can also reach that state. He's giving examples of people who have attained that, which includes Shuga and Narada, who are all Jivanmuktas. So that's what Bhattacharya is saying in Sloka 8. Now let's see what we mean by Jivanmukta. What is the meaning of that? So here Bhattacharya addressed Jivanmuktas, and he specifically gave examples of Narada Maharshi and Shuga Maharshi. So Jivanmukta is one who leads a worldly life and performs fully in the world. So we can say a Jivanmukta is somebody who performs their actions fully. Whatever actions they have to perform due to their karma, their Prarabdha Karma, they perform that fully in the world, but they are not attached to anything. That means the highest height of Karma Yoga. So they perform whatever actions they have to do, but they are not attached to anything, and they are always established in that Brahman. They are always established in the Satchidananda Brahman. So you can see that they play two roles. They play a role where they are fully involved in what they have to do, and at the same time they also play the role where they are not attached to anything, but they are fully in that Bhagavan state. Such liberated beings are called Jivanmuktas. And Bhattacharya gave the example of Narada and Shuga. So we see that they appear to act in the world. We can see that they are working in the world. They are always acting in the world, but they are not attached to anything. They are not bounded by it. But inwardly, they are always in their inward nature. They are always connected to their inner awareness, and they do not have any body consciousness. They are not attached to their body or their mind. They are free of their body mind complex. And the reason they are performing their actions, the duties, is because of they still have Prarabdha Karma. They still have karma that they have to extinguish. So they perform their Prarabdha Karma. So these people are they're leaving people. So Jivanmukta is not a state of after death. It is while living in this world, they get mukti. They are getting liberation. Such people are called Jivanmuktas. So I hope that was clear. Now, once their Prarabdha is over, once they complete their Prarabdha Karmas, the Jivanmukta attain the state of Videha Mukti. That means they are dropping their body. So once their Prarabdha is over, they will drop their body, and therefore they have no more identification with the body. Even while leaving, they did not have any identification with the body, but they still had to do their karmas, Prarabdha Karmas. Once the Prarabdha Karma is over, they are liberated into the state of Videha Mukti. Liberation already has happened to them, but they enter the state of Videha Mukti. So that's the difference between Jivanmukta and Videha Mukta. Jivanmukta is while leaving, liberation while leaving, but still doing your actions because you have karma left. Once all the karma is done, extinguished or exhausted, they attain the state of Videha Mukti. That is after the fall of their body. So Sri Shuga, he is liberated by birth. Shuga Maharshi is liberated by birth, and he is the son of Vedavyasa Maharshi. He is the one who advised Bhagavata to Parikshit. And we know from Bhagavata itself how great Shuga Maharshi is. It is described in the first chapter of Bhagavatam. And Narada Maharshi is Devarishi, and he's a son of Brahmadeva. So both of these are liberated beings already, and they are still also devotees of Bhagavan. Even though they are liberated, even though they are Jivanmuktas, they are still devotees of Bhagavan. So both are Jivanmuktas. For them, this world does not appear. For them, there is no world. There is no Brahmagara Vritti. They always delight in their own Satchidananda Swarupa. They are always one with this Brahman. However, they perform their actions as needed, and there are several of them, several Jivanmuktas like that. Now, some textbooks, some scholars also address them as Videha Muktas. Videha Mukti, as I said, is once your Prarabdha Karma is over and then they drop their body, that's when they reach the state of Videha Mukta. But some scholars also address Narada Maharshi and Sri Shuga Maharshi as Videha Muktas also, because they are always established in Brahman. They do not have any identification with their bodies, and they do not have any Prarabdha also. So from a higher sense, from a descriptive sense, they are addressed as even Videha Muktas in many textbooks. But the point here is about Muktas, and this is a state that Bhattacharya wants to achieve. And Bhattacharya is emphasizing that we also can achieve this Mukta state through this practice of yoga, and when we are one with this Bhagavan. Going to sloga number 9. Anju, you are mute.
Sorry. Tvatsamadhi vijaye tu ya पुनर्मंशु मोक्षरसिकक्रमेण वा योगवश्यमनिलं षडाश्रयैः उन्नयत्यज सुषुम्नयाशनैः. അല്ലയോ നിത്യസ്വരൂപ, യാതൊരുവനാണോ അങ്ങയിലുള്ള നിർവികൽപ സമാധിയെ നേടിക്കഴിയുമ്പോൾ ഉടനെ അഥവാ ക്രമത്തിൽ മോക്ഷം നേടാൻ തത്പരനായി തീരുന്നത്, അവൻ പ്രാണായാമാദികളാൽ കീഴടക്കിയ പ്രാണവായുവിനെ 6 സ്ഥാനങ്ങളിലൂടെ സുഷുമ്നാ നാഡീ ദ്വാര മെല്ലെ മേലോട്ടുയർത്തുന്നു.
So Bhattathiri is now continuing his discussion about mukti, and he is connecting mukti to our energy centers, the chakras and pranayama here in sloka 9. So Bhattathiri says, "Hey Aja, hey eternal being." The Aja means some Bhagavan who is birthless. We said this in our first session. But Aja means one who is birthless, who is eternal. That it means it is Sanadana. It is ever since. It is there ever since. So Bhagavan, who is Aja, Tvat Samadhi Vijaye, on attaining Samadhi in thee, on attaining that Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, that is one with you, the one with Brahman, which we discussed in our last session, that Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Tu Yaha Punaha, indeed, they again, whoever has attained that Samadhi state. So let's say what Bhattathiri is talking about is about yogis, so yogis who have done good karmas, who have practiced Ashtanga Yoga, who is then therefore finally they have attained Guruvayurappan through Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, and then in that Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. Now Bhattathiri is continuing to talk about such people. Mangshu Moksha Rasikaha, whether they desire immediate liberation. So they can desire for immediate liberation. Liberation means the removal of ignorance. That is Jivanmukta. We said that before. The removal of our ignorance, when that happens, we are Jivanmuktas. And they get, while leaving, if they get that liberation, that is getting liberation while leaving, because the ignorance is removed from them, that is called immediate liberation. That is, they are receiving liberation. As soon as your ignorance is removed, you are liberated, right? Liberation means there is nothing specific. Liberation is not something that you get after death or something like that. It is whenever you are leaving, even while you are leaving, if any ignorance that we have, that is ignorance of this world, if that is removed from us, and if you are one with that Bhagavan, you are already mukta, and that is called Jivanmukta. Such a liberation, such an immediate liberation is called Sadhyo Mukti. So Sadhyo Mukti means immediate liberation. That is, whenever the ignorance in our mind or in the ignorance that we have is removed, the liberation that we immediately receive, that is called Sadhyo Mukti. And a Jivanmukta is somebody who has got Sadhyo Mukti. So I hope the distinction is clear. Jivanmukta is the state of the person. Sadhyo Mukti is that process. The moment that liberation happens to them, that is the moment that ignorance is removed from them, the mukti that they get is called Sadhyo Mukti. And the state of them is called Jivanmukta. I hope that is clear. So if they desire immediate liberation, they get Sadhyo Mukti. Or Bhattathiri continues, Kramenava, or there are souls, or there are people who attain the same Samadhi state, but they do not get immediate mukti. They desire to go to higher worlds. They are not desiring for immediate liberation, or that is called Sadhyo Mukti, which is immediate, instant liberation. They desire for gradual liberation. That means their liberation will only happen after they visit higher planes of consciousness, that is higher realms of the world. Such a gradual liberation is called Krama Mukti. So Bhattathiri is talking about yogis, 2 types of yogis. One who attains Sadhyo Mukti, that is immediate liberation, which is a state of Jivanmukta. And then the other state is gradual liberation, which is the state of Krama Mukti. And Bhattathiri says, and to get this Krama, both Sadhyo Mukti and Krama Mukti, first thing is that the yogi has to raise their energies. So here Bhattathiri says, Saha, the yogi, he, she or they, Yoga Vashyam, by the power of yoga, through yoga, Anilam, they control their breath, they control their prana. Breath here means the prana, which is their vital energy. Prana, we said in the last session, prana is our vital energy in us, which is the vital energy everywhere in the universe. And the Lord of that is Guruvayurappan. Guruvayurappan is the Lord of that prana of the universe. Shad Asrayaihi, through the 6 centers, through the 6 energy centers, they try to raise their prana in them. Sushumnaya, along this nadi called Sushumna Nadi, Unnayadi, they raises this prana, raises up the prana or the vital energy, Shanaihi, slowly. So we'll see what Bhattathiri is talking about here. So if you, we discussed this briefly in the previous Dashakams also. In the human body, there are several nadis, there are several thousands of nadis in the human body. And through these nadis means these are channels through which the energy flows in our body. And within that, we have 3 key nadis, which are Ida, Pingala, and Sushumna. Ida and Pingala, these are channels through which our energy, the prana, flows. And then we have the Sushumna Nadi, the middle Nadi, which is flowing, which is situated along our spinal cord. So we have the Ida Nadi, the Pingala, and the Sushumna. Now, for an average person, somebody who is not a yogi, for an average person, the energy typically flows only through the Ida and Pingala. So the energy flows through these 2 nadis, Ida and Pingala. Their Sushumna Nadi is mostly inactive. That is not at all, raised or active. So for a normal being, the prana, the flow of the prana happens through this Ida channel and the Pingala channel. Now, the pranic energy is called Kundalini, and that is a coiled up power. The Kundalini is a coiled up power. It's called Prana Shakti. It is the Shakti of the prana. And that is like a coiled up power, and that is located in the base of the spine, in the Muladhara chakra, at the base of the spine. And that remains there, that remains dormant for most beings. For most regular beings or people, that energy is remaining dormant in the base of the spine at the Muladhara chakra. Now, and therefore it is that, and this is called Kundalini, and it is represented as a snake, because it is coiled up. It is coiled like how a snake has coiled, snake is coiled up, and it stays dormant there for most people. And it's also feminine in nature. It is therefore called Shakti. It is like Parvati Devi, or, it is the Shakti nature of it, so it's a Shakti that is located here. Now, a yogi, through pranayama, Bhattathiri what is saying is that through pranayama, the yogi will try to raise their kundalini, this energy, the coiled up energy at the base of the Mula spine, the Muladhara chakra, that is being activated and brought up. So that happens through the Sushumna Nadi. So when that is when the Sushumna Nadi gets activated. And that is activated, as I said, only for very high beings, the very high beings, people who have reached that realized state through the practice of Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, and all that. That is when they reach that state. Once they reach that state, the Sushumna Nadi gets activated, and they are now able to raise their prana from this Muladhara chakra. This is the Muladhara chakra, to higher planes of their, or higher chakras. These chakras also represent our higher planes of consciousness. So essentially, these are showing how the consciousness level in us. And what is the goal here? The goal is that by controlling our prana, we are able to control our thoughts and increase our awareness. The goal is basically that by bringing the prana higher, we are able to control the thought process in our mind. Okay, and through that, we are also able to increase our awareness. So for a normal average human being, mostly the last 3 chakras are active. That is Muladhara, Swadhisthana, and Manipuraka. This is the 3 lower chakras, and for a normal human being, mostly these 3 chakras are active. These 3 chakras represent our basic day-to-day needs and our behavior. So that is mostly food, sexual activity. All our basic the activities of a regular human is represented, or is shown by these 3 chakras. And if these 3 chakras are active, that is what the person is focusing on more. Their activities are mostly onto that basic regular day-to-day activities. However, if they bring their pranic energy higher, that is towards the next chakra, which is the Anahata chakra, which is the heart center, that is when they are attached to the divine being. They are now crossed that materialistic world, and they are now focusing towards Bhagavan. So when the Anahata chakra is active, when the heart center is active, that means they are now focused on Bhagavan. They are fully into devotion. They are into japa and meditation. So when you practice japa and meditation, this chakra is what is getting activated. The anahata chakra is getting activated. And further, by practicing it for a long period or by doing that, and this you can again do it pranayama also. You can also do it with japa and meditation. We can activate the anahata chakra. You can also do it through pranayama, which is what is being described here. Next, it will the pranic energy can be activated higher up to the Vishuddha chakra. At the Vishuddha chakra level, you are fully immersed in Bhagavan. In this state, you are fully immersed in Bhagavan. And then the next chakra would be is the Ajna chakra. The Ajna chakra is the chakra in between our eyebrows. And when the Ajna chakra is active, you are one with that Brahman or Bhagavan, but not fully. You still feel like there is a covering in between. You still feel like there is something that is blocking. You are able to see Bhagavan. You are able to see Bhagavan, the awareness in you, but still there is a covering in between. This is like the, if you remember, we said Nirvikalpa Samadhi and Savikalpa Samadhi. In the Savikalpa Samadhi state, remember we said that you are in that Samadhi state, but you still feel that Bhagavan and Bhakta are different. You still see Bhagavan as separate. That's when the Ajna chakra is active. And finally, the person enters the state of, or the energy enters the state of Sahasrara chakra. That is, it touches the Murda, the top of your head, where we have through the Brahmarandra, and that is the Sahasrara chakra. And when that Sahasrara chakra is active, you are one with that Brahman. So this is the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. Okay. So Bhattathiri is talking about how a yogi is able to, bring up their prana from this Mooladhara chakra through the Sushumna Nadi and take it up higher up to the Sahasrara chakra. And that is what Bhattathiri is talking about in this sloka. And once they bring up their energy up, and once they are in that Nirvikalpa Samadhi state, then they attain, or they are already in that Jivanmukta state. Then if they get immediate liberation, that is called Sadhyo Mukti. And there are others who do not seek for immediate liberation. They look for liberation that is gradual. That is called Krama Mukti. So again, it was slightly technical, but we'll continue on this in the next slokas also. So we'll see this more. So once again, what is Sadhyo Mukti? Sadhyo Mukti is the liberation that occurs the moment true knowledge arises. That is instant, that is immediate. The moment our ignorance is destroyed through Atmajnanam, that means we have attained liberation. That state of instantaneous or instant liberation is called Sadhyo Mukti. And that is a state that you can achieve while living. And a Jivanmukta is somebody who has attained Sadhyo Mukti. Jivanmukta, a person who is Jivanmukta, is somebody who has attained the Sadhyo Mukti. Such a living person is a Jivanmukta. Now, once their body falls, that is, there is no more Prarabdha, they are called Videha Mukta. So I hope the distinction is clear. Sadhyo Mukti is liberation, that is instant or immediate. A living person who has attained Sadhyo Mukti is called Jivanmukta. Once they drop their body, because of they do not have any more Prarabdha Karma in them, they are called Videha Mukta. And that is Sadhyo Mukti. Then Bhattathiri is talking about Krama Mukti. Krama Mukti is different from Sadhyo Mukti. Krama Mukti is a post-death path. That means after the dropping of their body. So this is different. This is different because they have still not got Mukti. These people who are desiring for Krama Mukti, they have still not got liberation. They have still not got Mukti. They get Mukti by going through a path. They go through a post-death path described for devotees or yogis. So such yogis, they are going to take a path in which they are guided by certain higher beings. And finally, they reach the Brahmaloka. And from the Brahmaloka, they get Mukti, liberation. That is called Krama Mukti or gradual liberation. And the people who get Krama Mukti are people who are focused on Saguna Brahman. So let's say somebody is, they got Brahmajnanam, somebody got Brahmajnanam, but they are attached to the Saguna form of the Lord. That is the Guruvayurappan form of Lord. Such people get Krama Mukti. The people who get Sadhyo Mukti are the ones who are established in the Nirguna Brahman form of Bhagavan. Is the Brahman, that such people, realized souls get Sadhyo Mukti, but whoever is realized the Saguna Brahman form, they get Krama Mukti. And we'll see what Krama Mukti is in the next slides. So Krama Mukti, in Krama Mukti, the Jiva, the soul, passes through a path, and this path is called the Archiradi Marga. This is called the Archiradi path. It is also known as Devayana path. We'll see what Archiradi path is in the next slides. So this is after their death. So after they drop their body, they go on a tour. They're going on a tour, and in that tour, they have a guide who is taking them from one world to another. That is, they are going from one plane of consciousness to another plane of consciousness, different realms of existence. And the path is called Archiradi path. Archis means light, divine light or flame. So they are taken by Archis. The fire is the one that starts the process. So that's why it's called Archiradi Margam. Or it's also known as Devayana path. It is described in the Upanishads. And then finally they reach the Brahmaloka. So the soul, it passes through different worlds. It takes a long path, and each time it stays in different logas, different worlds. The soul will stay there for some time, receive all the sugas of that world, then again move to the next world, stay there, receive all the blessings and sugas of that world, then go to the next world. Likewise, they will take a path. They will take a path like this, and then finally they will reach the Brahmaloka. That path of the is called Archiradi Margam. And again, this is for yogis who are established in the Saguna Brahman form of Bhagavan. They attain the Archiradi Margam. They go through the Archiradi path to liberation. Finally, they reach the Brahmaloka. Once they reach Brahmaloka, because of their yoga, means because of their intense yoga that they have practiced, they might get immediate liberation there itself from Brahmaloka. Or what they will happen is they will wait till the end of the cosmic cycle. They will get liberation at the end of the cosmic cycle, which is called the cosmic dissolution, Pralaya. So during Pralaya, they get moksha. So they wait till Pralaya to happen. They stay at Brahmaloka until Pralaya happens. So we'll see how that process is in the next slides. Going to Sloka 10.
लिङ्गदेहमभिसन्ध्यजन्नदो लीयते त्वयि परे निराग्रहः ऊर्ध्वलोककुतुकीतुमूर्धतः सार्धमेव करणैर्निरीयते. ബ്രഹ്മലോകാദി സുഖങ്ങളിൽ കൊതിയില്ലാത്ത യോഗി പ്രാണവായുവിനെ ഭ്രൂമധ്യത്തിലേക്ക് ഉയർത്തി അല്പനേരം നിർത്തിയതിനു ശേഷം സൂക്ഷ്മ ശരീരത്തെയും ഉപേക്ഷിക്കുന്നവനായിട്ട് പരബ്രഹ്മ സ്വരൂപനായ അങ്ങയിൽ ലയിക്കുന്നു. ബ്രഹ്മാദി ലോകങ്ങൾ കൊതിക്കുന്നവനാകട്ടെ ബ്രഹ്മരന്ധ്രത്തിലൂടെ സൂക്ഷ്മ ശരീരത്തോടു കൂടി തന്നെ നിർഗമിക്കുന്നു.
So Bhattathiri continues. He says, Adha, thereby, that means after bringing the vital energy to the Ajna chakra, which is the chakra between the eyebrows, and then that the vital energy is raised to the Sahasrara chakra. So Adha, so this is continuing the vital energy, the bringing of vital energy from Mooladhara to Sahasrara. He says, Niragraha, one who is free from all desires. Such the people who are free from all desires, which are Jivanmuktas, and they do not desire for even Brahmaloka. So remember, we said there are two types of muktis, Sadhyo Mukti and Krama Mukti. Sadhyo Mukti is the one who gets immediate liberation. They are still living, if they are called Jivanmuktas. They do not desire for anything else. They are one with that Brahman. That's why they got immediate liberation. Such people who are free of all desires, who are Jivanmuktas, what they do is Linga Deham Abhi, they have their subtle body, which is called a Sukshma Shariram. We'll see what that is. They give up their Sukshma Shariram to Bhagavan. How? Linga Deham Abhi, Sandhyajan, giving up Tvai Pare, in Bhagavan, in Guruvayurappan, the Supreme Brahman. They will give up their subtle body immediately to that, to Bhagavan, to that Brahman, and merges with that Brahman, merges with Guruvayurappan. Liyade. Such a mukti is called Sadhyo Mukti. I already explained it, and this is in this sloka, it is being mentioned. The Sadhyo Mukti is immediate liberation. While leaving, they are called Jivanmuktas. Once their Prarabdha is over, they will drop their body, and their subtle body immediately merges with Narayana. And they attain the state of Videha Mukti. That such souls are called Videha Muktas, and that Mukti, the process of Mukti that they followed, is called Sadhyo Mukti. Okay. Now, we spoke about the other people, the other set of people, which are Krama Muktas, who go through a path. Now Bhattathiri is talking about them. Urdhva Loga Kudugitu, but the ones who desires to go to higher spiritual worlds like Brahmaloka. So Sadhya Muktas do not desire for that, but the Krama Muktas are people who desire to go to these higher worlds. Such people who wish to go to Brahmaloka, which is called Krama Mukti, gradual liberation. Such people, what they do is they bring their prana to the top of their head, which is bring the prana to the Sahasrara chakra, which is located at the top of our head, and murtadaha through the orifice in the head, which is called the Brahmarandra. Brahmarandra is like a orifice. It is the channel, or essentially that connects the Ajna chakra to Sahasrara. Ajna chakra is located here. The connection between Ajna to the Sahasrara chakra is through the Brahmarandra. And that Brahmarandra is an opening at the top of our head. There is an orifice at the top of our head, which is the soft spot that we can see in babies when they are born. So such people, such highly realized yogis who are focused on the Saguna Brahman of Bhagavan, they bring their energies to the Ajna chakra, which is here, and then they raise it to the Sahasrara chakra, and through the Brahmarandra, they break the Brahmarandra. Through the orifice, when they drop their body, when they die, or when they drop their body, their subtle body, which is called the Sukshma Shariram, we'll see what that is. The Sukshma Shariram of theirs exit through that Brahmarandra. Okay, and then it goes to that tour. It goes to the travel that I said, which is the Archiradi travel, Archiradi path. So through the Brahmarandra, the subtle body exits their body, which is the Sukshma Shariram. Through the orifice in the head, Sardam Eva Karanaihi, along with the subtle body. Subtle body Niriyade goes out. I'll say what the subtle body is in the next slides, but the subtle body leaves through this orifice out. And it is going into a travel towards the Brahmaloka. This path is called Krama Mukti. This is called Krama Mukti, where the soul or the subtle body leaves our gross body through the Brahmarandra and take a path towards the Brahmaloka. Okay. Now, so let's see what the subtle body is. So we in Vedanta, and as we know, we said this in our first sessions, we are not our body, we are not our mind, we are not our intellect, we are the Brahman itself, we are the self, we are the Atman, the witness consciousness, the bliss. That is our true nature. This Atmanness, the self in us, is expressed in the world outside through our body, through our mind, through our intellect. So these are instruments. Likewise, the true awareness in us has three of these bodies to express ourselves. What are they? The first one is our physical body. That is called the Sthula Sharira. Now, what is happening is we get identified with our physical body and say that I am that body. But our true nature is that Bhagavan, which is in us. That is our true nature, which is the witness consciousness in us. The witness consciousness expresses in the world through these three bodies. The first one is Sthula Sharira, which is our physical body. The second one is the subtle body, which is called the Sukshma Sharira. That is what we just spoke about, the subtle body that goes out. And then the third one is called the causal body, which is the Karana Sharira. So there are three bodies for us: Sthula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karana Sharira. And I said there are three bodies for us. That means we are not these three bodies. We are the witness consciousness, the Brahman itself, expressing in the world through these three bodies: Sthula, Sukshma, and Karana Sharira. Now, what is the Sthula Sharira? We know this is our gross body, the physical body that we see. And this gross body, or the Sthula Sharira, it is made up of the 5 Tanmatras, which are earth, Prithvi, water, apas, up, fire, which is Agni, air, which is Vayu, and space, or ether, which is Akasha. So the physical body, the gross body, Sthula Sharira, is made up of these 5 elements: Prithvi, up, Agni, Vayu, and Akasha. Now, what is the Sukshma Shariram? Sukshma Shariram is our subtle body. The subtle body is the one that experiences thoughts, experiences feelings, are able to have some abilities. That is our subtle body. Again, now the subtle body has also 19 parts. So there are 19 parts to this subtle body. We'll see what they are in the next slide. That is, it has 5 Jnanendriyas. Our Jnanendriyas, the Indriyas through which we take in information, which are our eyes, nose, tongue, etc. These are our Jnanendriyas. But here, then it's not the organs that is being talked about. The 19 parts includes the Jnanendriyas, but not the actual organs, because the organs belong to the physical body. It is talking about the powers of those organs. So, for example, for ears, it is the power of hearing, the ability to hear. That is what is being referred to here. For eyes, it is the ability to see. The capability to see, that power of seeing is the Jnanendriya that is being talked about here. The actual eye is just the instrument. That eye belongs to the gross body, the physical body. But the ability to see, the power to see an external thing, that belongs to the Sukshma body, the Sukshma Sharira. So it has 5 Jnanendriyas, 5 Karmendriyas. Karmendriyas are our hands, legs, etc., through which we do actions. Again, it's not the organs that is being talked about here. It is the power, the ability. So through hands, we are able to do grasping. So the power of grasping is the Karmendriya talked about. Through legs, we are able to do walking, locomotion. So the ability to walk, that power is the power of subtle body. So we have 5 Jnanendriyas. The subtle body is made up of 5 Jnanendriyas, the powers of the 5 Jnanendriyas. It is made up of the powers of the 5 Karmendriyas. Then it is made up of 5 pranas. We'll see what those are. The 5 pranas, which are vital forces. The prana that we spoke about, it has 5 classifications, sub-classifications. So the 5 pranas. And 4 andhakaranas, 4 inner instruments, which are the mind, intellect, memory, and ego. So our subtle body, the Sukshma Shariram, is made up of 19 parts or 19 elements, which are 5 powers of Jnanendriyas, 5 powers of Karmendriyas, the 5 pranas in us, and our 4 andhakarana, which are mind, intellect, memory, and ego. That's our subtle body. Then there is something called a causal body. The causal body is called the Karana Shariram. The Karana Shariram is the cause. It is like a seed that is in us. It is our most subtle element, or the body in ourself, in the self. So this is the Karana Shariram, and this causal body is what is creating, or what is the reason for the subtle and physical body. So from the causal body comes the subtle body and physical body. So this is like a seed. Imagine this is like a seed that is there, and that seed grows into a plant which includes our physical body and Sukshma Shariram. But that seed is our causal body. So when we are in deep sleep, we do not have any attachment to our physical body and our subtle body, right? Because we are not aware of our physical body and subtle body. But when we wake up, we say, I had a good sleep. That is because of this causal body, which is there, which is always active, but it is still the one that is preventing you it is creating these individuals in us. So this causal body is the one that is separating the Brahman, the Para-Brahman, into individuals like us. That is this causal body. And this is a result of Maya. This causal body is a result of the Maya, the power of Bhagavan, Brahman. So once again, the Brahman is there. The Brahman, we are all that Brahman, but it makes individuals like us because through this seed, which is the causal body. And this causal body is the cause for our subtle body and the physical body. So this is the most subtle part of our body, okay, which is called the Karana Shariram. So we have 3 of these bodies, Stula, Sukshma, and Karana Sharirams. Now, this is also tied to 5 sheaths, 5 koshas in us. We have 5 koshas in us. So us means the self, the awareness in us, the Brahman in us, the Atman in us. We are the Atman, the self. It has 5 coverings, and they are associated with these 3 bodies. That is, the first one is the Annamaya Kosha. Annamaya Kosha means the body that is made up of food. So all our physical body is made up of food, and this food is coming from these 5: earth, water, fire, air, and space. And the body that we have, the physical body, is made up of these food. When we take in food, which is made up of these 5 tanmatras, we get this physical body. And upon death, this also again goes back to these 5 elements, right? When we die, our physical body goes into these 5 elements. So that body is the Annamaya Kosham. Then we have the subtle body, which has the Pranamaya Kosham. The Pranamaya Kosham is the prana, which we said, the pranas, they make up the Pranamaya Kosham. Also, the Jnanendriyas. Our Jnanendriyas also are associated with the Pranamaya Kosha. Then, our Karmendriya. I'm sorry, for the pranas, it is our 5 pranas and our Karmendriyas, they make up the Pranamaya Kosha. Then we have the Manomaya Kosha, which is our mind, emotions, that is associated with the Andhakarana, which is mind, intellect, that is all associated with the Manomaya Kosha, and that also has the Jnanendriyas, through which we take in information. Our mind gets information through our Jnanendriyas. And then we have the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is associated with our intellect, which is the intellect here. That is associated with Vijnanamaya Kosha. So once again, the subtle body has three coverings, or our self has three coverings, which are made up of Pranamaya Kosha, which is made up of the Pranas and our Karmendriyas. The Manomaya Kosha, which is made up of the mind and our Jnanendriyas. And the Vijnanamaya Kosha, which is made up of our intellect. And also the ego. Intellect, memory, and ego. That is our Vijnanamaya Kosha. Okay. And our Karana Shariram, the causal body, which is the seed in us, that has the Anandamaya Kosha. This Kosha is the one which is, so that seed in us, the inner seed in us, that is the one that is responsible for our bliss, the happiness, the in us. That is the Anandamaya Kosha, which is the seed, right? So these are the 5 koshas in us, the self, in ourself. Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha, and Anandamaya Kosha. And they are associated with each of these bodies, which are our Stula Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, and Karana Shariram. So Bhattathiri is talking about the subtle body, how this subtle body exits through the Brahmarandra of a yogi. And when the subtle body exits, this causal body also goes through it, along with it. It's not just a subtle body, because a seed, this is a seed of the subtle body. So when the subtle body exits, both the subtle and causal body, they exit through the Brahmarandra. That is what Bhattathiri is talking about. I hope that was clear. Now, I said what the subtle body, I mentioned already what it is made up of. The subtle body is made up of our 5 Jnanendriyas, not the actual Indriyas, but the power, the capability. So the 5 Jnanendriyas are ear, skin, eye, tongue, and nose. So the power of hearing comes from ear, that is associated with our Jnanendriya. The power of feeling is associated with our skin, again that is the Jnanendriya. The power of seeing, the power of tasting, the ability to taste, the ability to smell, that ability is associated with the subtle body. So as an example, it is like this. With our let me use an example for our next one, the Karmendriya. Similarly, so we have 5 Jnanendriyas, the powers of the organs of knowledge. Then we have 5 Karmendriyas, which are our legs, hands, mouth, genitals, and anus. And the actual power they offer is, legs is for locomotion, hands are for holding, so dexterity, mouth is for speech, genitals are for procreation, and anus is for excretion. So these properties, these are the properties of the subtle body. So for example, using our hands, we are able to hold an object, right? That hand is associated with the gross body, the physical body. But the power of grasping, that is with the subtle body. For example, if somebody has paralysis, they may not be able to hold an object like somebody who does not have paralysis, right? Even though they still have the same organ, the power is different. That power is a property of the subtle body, right? So that is what is being mentioned here. So we have the 5 Jnanendriyas, the powers associated with our 5 Jnanendriyas, the powers associated with our 5 Karmendriyas, they are also part of they are associated with the subtle body. That is the 5 Jnanendriyas and 5 Karmendriyas. Then we have 5 Prana in us. They are, first one is Prana itself, that is respiration, the prana that we take in for respiration, that is called Prana, and it is the one that draws in nutrients and sensory impressions in us, energy in us, inward energy in us, that is Prana. That is what we are trying to activate. Through pranayama, this prana is being activated from our lower chakras to higher chakras. That is Prana. Then there is, this is called Prana Vayu. Then there is Abana Vayu, which is associated with expulsion, which controls elimination, reproduction, and immunity. That is Abana Vayu. Again, I don't plan to go into details, but just quickly mentioning these. Then there is Samana Vayu, which is for digestion and balancing. So this Vayu facilitates digestion, assimilation, balancing of forces within our body. Then there is Vyana Vayu, which is for circulation, that is distribution of the prana across throughout the entire body and regulating it, circulation and movement. That is done through Vyana Vayu. And then there is Udana Vayu, which is for upward speech, expression. That is, it mostly operates in the throat, which is governing us the ability to speak, ability to express, ability to grow. All that is through Udana Vayu. So these 5 pranas are also part of the functions of these 5 prana. They are also part of the subtle body. So subtle body has 5 Jnanendriyas, the powers of 5 Jnanendriyas. Subtle body has the powers of 5 Karmendriyas. Subtle body also has the powers of the 5 Pranas, which we just saw. Then it has the 4 Andakarana, 4 inner instruments, which are Manas. Manas is the one, is the objective mind. Remember, in the first Dashakam we said we have a subjective mind, we have an objective mind and a subjective mind. The objective mind is the one that receives information through other senses, the eyes, nose, ears, etc. That is the Manas. The Manas is the one that gets information and receives impression from the senses and expresses as emotions and thoughts. That's our mind. Second is Buddhi, which is intellect. That is the subjective mind. The Buddhi is the one that analyzes. Once we get an information through the objective mind, it reaches the subjective mind. In the subjective mind, the subconscious, it will do analysis and it judges and it makes logical decisions, right? That is our Buddhi, intellect, and it is the one that determines what actions we do based on wisdom, right? That is our Buddhi. Then we have Chitta. Chitta is the memory. It is the storehouse of all the things that we have done, all the impressions, all the samskaras in us. The storehouse of that is called Chitta. And that is the one where we have all our past information. That is the Chitta. And then we have finally Ahangara, which is ego. Ego is the sense of individuality in us, the doership in us. When we say I, that is coming from ego. Okay, so we have 4 Andakaranas, which are the mind, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahangara. They are also part of the subtle body. Now for the ego, I just want to explain what the ego is. So when we say, I am hungry, right? Or when I say, I want something, I want chocolate, right? When I say I want chocolate, that chocolate is coming from my memory. I may have a memory of a samskara of eating chocolate. So the chocolate is coming from my memory. That want, when I say I want, that want is coming from the mind. The mind says I want it, right? So whenever I see chocolate, the chocolate comes from my memory. The want comes from my mind. Then the ego attaches to it. The ego says, I want chocolate. So the I is that ego that gets attached to it. That is the ahangara in us. Now, many a times, we think that ego is us. That ego is not us. So none of this is our true nature. When I say, I want chocolate, and then I take a step back and think, who in me said that? That person who analyzes that, that's our true nature. So we are the self, the Atman. So what we are actually is the self, the Atman, the witness consciousness who's experiencing that ego. We are experiencing that ego. So when I say I want chocolate and I think, oh, who in me said that? That person who is that, the one that is thinking about it, that is our true nature. And we can experience the ego telling all these. I want chocolate, I want this, I want that. We are able to experience that. So that means we are able to see the ego. And we are actually the seer, the one who sees it. That's our true nature. That's our Atman. And we are able to see the ego. So all of these, ego, memory, intellect, and mind, these are our inner instruments of our self. So finally, just to sum up, our subtle body has 19 parts made up of the powers of Jnanendriyas, the powers of Karmendriyas, the 5 Pranas, and this 4 inner instruments, which are Manas, Buddhi, Chitta, and Ahangara. And this is the subtle body that Bhattathiri said exits through the Brahmarandra to a path, to a travel, which we will see next. So once again, to summarize this sloga, Mukti, we said that Mukti is the liberation that occurs when true knowledge arises immediately. That means instantly you are getting Mukti. Such a person is called a Jivanmukta, right? Jivanmukta, while leaving, they are already got liberation, but they still perform their actions attached to Bhagavan. That is a Jivanmukta. They still do their actions because they have Prarabdha Karma. Once their Prarabdha Karma is ended, they reach a state of Videha Mukti. Such a whole process of that Mukti is called Mukti. When a Mukta or when a Jivanmukta drops their body, what happens is their gross body, their physical body, it dissolves into the 5 elements. And what happens to the subtle body? The subtle body is already, there is no more subtle body because they already got liberation, right? So the subtle body, they are no more identified with the subtle body. They are no more identified with their mind. They are no more identified with their ego. They do not. So that identification is already over for them. That's why they are Muktas, right? So for Mukti, this subtle body immediately dissolves and merges with Narayana. So when somebody who has got Mukti, their gross body goes into the 5 elements. Their subtle body immediately dissolves and merges with Bhagavan Narayana. That is Sadhya Mukti. But what is Krama Mukti? Krama Mukti is they still have an identification with their subtle body. They still have an identification with their mind, ego, and all that. They desire for higher worlds, the Brahmaloka. So such devotees, such yogis, what happens is their souls exit their subtle body and their Karma Sharira, both causal body and subtle body, that exit through the Brahmarandra, and it passes through the Brahmarandra to the Brahmaloka through a path which we will see next, and that path is called the Archiradi Marga, Archiradi path. And there, once they reach Brahmaloka, they will either get mukti there immediately after reaching there through their own yogic power, or they will wait till the end of the cosmic dissolution, Pralaya, which we will also see in the next slokas. Going to sloka number 11.
अग्निवासरवलक्षपक्षकैरुत्तरायणजुषा च दैवतैः प्रापितो रविपदं भवत्परो मोदवान् ധ്രുവപദാന്തമീയത്തെ. അവിടുത്തെ മുഖ്യമായി സേവിച്ച യോഗി അഗ്നി, പകൽ സമയം, ശുക്ലപക്ഷം ഇവയെ അധിഷ്ഠാനം ചെയ്യുന്നവയും ഉത്തരായണ കാലാധിഷ്ഠിതങ്ങളുമായ ദേവതകളാൽ സൂര്യലോകം പ്രാപിക്കപ്പെട്ടവനായി ദിവ്യാനന്ദം അനുഭവിക്കുന്നവനായിട്ട് ധ്രുവലോക പര്യന്തം എത്തിച്ചേരുന്നു.
So in this sloka, Bhattathiri is talking about the path of the people who is going through the Krama Mukti path, which we said before. So what Bhattathiri is talking about is, this is called the Archiradi Marga, the Archiradi path. So in this Archiradi path, what happens is, Agni Vasara Valarsha Pakshagaihi, the soul, the subtle body is carried or taken by Devadas of each of these. They are starting off with Agni, fire, then Aha, which is daytime, the Devada of day, which is Vasara. Vasara means day. The presiding deity of Agni, the presiding deity of Aha, day. The presiding deity of Valaksha Paksha, which is Shukla Paksha, which is the bright fortnight. We'll see what this is. Then Uttarayana Jusha, then they go, the subtle body goes to to Uttarayana. The path, it is taken by the presiding deity of Uttarayana, which is the northern solar path. I'll again come to that later. Daivadaihi, presided over by the respective deities. So as I said, the subtle body exits through the Brahmarandra and is exposed to sun. From there, the Devadas of each of these, Agni, Day, Shukla Paksha, Uttarayana, first starting off with Agni, they will take the subtle body to their logas, to their world, to their realms. And the subtle body will stay there, experiences the good things there, and stays there for some time. Then again moves to the next world. The next deity the next Devada will come and take them to the next world. Likewise, the subtle body takes a path, like a tour. It passes through different logas, and then finally it comes to Prabido Revipadam. It is led to the plane of the sun. Finally, it reaches the realm of the sun, Aditya Loga. Then it says, Bhattacharya says, Bhavat Paraha, he who is devoted to thee, such souls who had attain the Saguna form of Bhagavan. So Bhattacharya is talking about Krama Mukti here. So people who have attained Krama Mukti, they are the ones who goes through this path. Modavan, while enjoying the facilities of these various higher realms. So they go to these individual worlds and they enjoy the facilities of that realms. That means their consciousness is being awakened higher and higher because they are going to each of these logas. And finally, they are led to the sphere of Dhruva Loga. Dhruva Padandam Iyade. They are going to the Loga of Dhruva. Okay, and I'll explain this in more detail in the next couple of slides. So once again, this Marga is called Archiradi Margam, the path of light. This is described in the Upanishads. Now, Bhattacharya has actually taken a different route here. He connected the Archiradi Margam, which is as explained in the Upanishads, and he combined it with the Puranic cosmology. Okay, and I'll explain what that is. So the actual Archiradi path, as mentioned in the Upanishads, is like this. Starts with Archis, which is flame or light, which is the Agni. Starts with Archis, then goes to the day, Aha, which is day. The deity of day will take the soul next. the subtle body next. Then it is Shukla Paksha, which is the deity of the Shukla Paksha, which is the bright fortnight. We'll see what that is next. Then it goes to Uttarayana, the deity of Uttarayana, takes it to the loga of Uttarayana. Then it's taken by Samvalsara, the deity of cosmic year, Samvalsara Deva. Then it goes to the Aditya loga, to the world of sun, the realm of sun. Then it goes to the Vidyut, which is the realm of lightning, the loga of lightning. The soul goes there, the subtle body goes there. Then it goes to, it is guided by a non-human guide, which is called the Amanava Purusha. Amanava Purusha, a non-human guide, will come and guide the subtle body from there onwards. And the Amanava Purusha will take the subtle body to the Brahmaloka. This is the path of the subtle body who's going through Krama Mukti, gradual liberation, where it goes to each of these logas to finally reach Brahmaloka. And in each of these logas, the deity, the presiding deity of these logas will come and pick the subtle body, take the subtle body to the next loga, right? Like that's how it's happening. This is how it is mentioned in the Upanishads. Archiradi Marga as explained in the Upanishads. Now Bhattathiri, till sun it is correct. If you see Aditya, till sun it is as per the Upanishads. After that, Bhattathiri connects it to Dhruva Loga. Dhruva Loga, however, is not part of this actual Upanishadic path. Dhruva Loga is part of our cosmic, the 14 worlds, within the 14 worlds. Dhruva Loga is part of our cosmic universe, which is mentioned in the Puranas. So Bhattathiri is a highly, he's very much knowledgeable in Upanishads and in Puranas, and he's trying to summarize the Bhagavata here. So what Bhattathiri has done is he has connected the Upanishadic path with the Puranic world, the nature of the world, the universe. So we'll see this in the next slokas. So let's first see the actual Upanishadic Archiradi path. Let's see that path, which is a path of light as explained in the Upanishads. Starting off with Archis, the subtle body, after it exits through the Brahmarandra, it is exposed to sunlight, and then from there it is taken up by the Devada of fire. Archis. Archis is flame or light. The Devada of fire will take the subtle body to their world, to the world of fire, Agni. From there, it is then taken up by the deity of Aha. Aha means day, daytime. So it is like the subtle body will wait till daytime, and the presiding deity of that daytime will then take the subtle body. So for each day there is a presiding deity, right? For Thursday it is Brahaspati, for Saturday it is Shanishwara, right? There is a presiding deity for that day. The presiding deity of the day will carry the subtle body next to their loga, the Aha loga. Then comes the Shukla Paksha. Then the soul, the subtle body, is taken by the deity of Shukla Paksha. Shukla Paksha is the bright fortnight. Bright fortnight is the time period when the moon goes from the new moon to full moon. The 15 days where the moon goes from new moon to this full bright moon, that period is called Shukla Paksha. And when that Shukla means white, that white radiance that we see in the full moon. So that Shukla Paksha, so the Devada of Shukla Paksha comes and picks up the subtle body and takes it to their loga in the next one. Now again in Shukla Paksha also there are Tidhis, and each Tidhi has a specific Devada. So that Devada, this is just the picture I put is just for generic purpose to understand. But the Devada of that Tidhis or that Shukla Paksha will come and pick the subtle body and take it to their world and then carries it further. Then from there the subtle body is taken up to Uttarayana. Uttarayana is the northern solar path, the path that sun moves. Starting from, for us, it is like December to almost summer, the period when which sun becomes highly intense. That period is called the Uttarayana period. So this year it is from December to somewhere till summer, when the sun becomes really bright and hot, when we get the maximum sunlight. That is the Uttarayana period. So next the subtle body is received by the Devada of Uttarayana, and the Uttarayana takes the subtle body. From there it goes to the world of it is taken up by the Samvalsara Devada. It goes to the world of Samvalsara. Samvalsara is the deity for the year, cosmic year. The Samvalsara Devada comes and picks up the subtle body and takes it to their loga, and from there the Samvalsara Devada takes it to the world of suns. So the Samvalsara Devada is the one who takes a subtle body to the next loga, which is the loga of the sun, which Bhattathiri just mentioned in his description. So the subtle body now has reached the realm of the Adityas, the sun. Okay, this is the Aditya loga or Surya loga. So subtle body, once again, starting off with Fire, it goes to day, day to Shukla Paksha to Uttarayana, from Uttarayana to Samvalsara Devada, from Samvalsara Devada, it reaches the realm of the sun, Aditya Loga. From Aditya Loga, the subtle body then goes to the Loga of Vidyut, lightning. Again, you can all of this is associated with the different planes of consciousness also. All of what is happening externally is also happening internally in us also. So we can associate with that. Vidyut, the lightning realm. And then from the Vidyut Loga, a Amanava Purusha, a non-human guide, picks up the subtle body, and that Amanava Purusha then takes the subtle body towards Brahmaloka. This is how it is mentioned in the Upanishads. Finally, the subtle body reaches Brahmaloka. Okay, this is the Upanishad path. However, Bhattathiri made a modification, or Bhattathiri, not just Bhattathiri, many Vedantis have connected this path with the later Puranic path. So Bhattathiri is addressing both Upanishads and the Puranas here. So from the Amanava Purusha, Bhattathiri says the subtle body is going to the Loga of Dhruva Loga, the pole star. So Bhattathiri connects it with the Puranic cosmology. So from the Amanava Purusha takes the subtle body to the Dhruva Loga. Okay, and Dhruva Loga is a highly spiritual point where it is the blessing given to Dhruva, the devotee of Bhagavan, and that is representative of firmness in spiritual practice, and so stability and all. So the subtle body reaches the Dhruva Loga. So now Bhattathiri is talking about Puranic cosmology. So we need to understand what that Puranic cosmology is to understand further, right? So what is the Puranic cosmology? Puranic cosmology is the structure of the universe. And we will see this in more detail in the next Dashakam, Dashakam 5. The Puranic cosmology includes 14 logas. There are 14 worlds. And these are the 7 upper logas and the 7 lower worlds, which includes the 7 upper logas. So we have Bur Loga, we have Bhuvar Loga, we have Swara Loga, we have Mahar Loga. In between Mahar and Swara Loga, there is this Dhruva Loga. So this is where the soul is right now. Bhattathiri said the soul has reached Dhruva Loga. So we have Mahar Loga, then Jana Loga, Tabo Loga, and finally Satya Loga. Satya Loga is the Loga of Brahma. Satya Loga is same as the Brahma Loga, which is there in the Upanishads. So now Bhattathiri is connected the Archiradi path to this cosmic hierarchy, Puranic cosmology. And we also have the lower logas, which are Adala, Vidala, Sudala, Taladala, Mahadala, Rasadala, Padala. These are the lower worlds. Now, what is this Burloga? We kind of said Burloga is our material world, the world that we live in right now, the material world that we see around, that is Burloga, which includes all living and non-living beings. That is Burloga. Bhuvarloga is the atmospheric realm. It is the Loga of spirits and Pidrs. And this Bhuvarloga is the connection between material to spirituality, higher realms. So it is like so you need to understand this not from a physical, this is there physically also, this is the physical structure of the universe as per the Puranas. This is also there internally in us. All these logas are there internally in us. So Bhuvar Loga is the Loga Loga that is between the material world and the spiritual world. Then we have Swar Loga, which is Swargam, which is the heavenly realm, which is the realm of all these Devadas, which is the Loga of Indra. And Swara Loga is essentially the Loga of our senses, if you think about it, and the presiding deity is the Indra, So Swara Loga, again, this is also not permanent. We discussed this in the first Dashakam. Swara Loga, even if you reach Swara Loga, you have to come back to Burloga later. So this is not our ultimate goal. Our ultimate goal is the Satya Loga. And beyond that, which is Vaikunta. So Burloga, Bhuvarloga, Swaraloga. Then there is Mahar Loga. We'll see what that is in the next Dashakams. Slogas. Jana Loga, Tabo Loga, and Satya Loga. So here is the 14 worlds. This is the 14 worlds that we have in our Puranas that describes our universe. This is our universe, the universe that we see. Which includes the Bhu Loga where we experience the material world, and on top there is Bhuvar Loga, Swarga Loga, Mahar Loga, Jana Loga, Tabo Loga. These logas are for higher beings, higher spiritual beings, higher people with higher awareness. They reach these logas, and finally Satya Loga, the Loga where Brahma stays. Okay, so Bhattathiri just mentioned that through the Archiradi path, the soul has now reached the Dhruva Loga. This is where the soul has now reached. Okay, this is where the soul has now reached the Dhruva and from here the soul now continues in the Puranic path, connecting the Archiradi path with the Puranic cosmology. So going to Sloka 12.
आस्तिदोदमहरालये यदा शेषवक्त्रदहनोष्मणार्द्यते ईयते भवदुपाश्रयस्तदा वेदसपदमदः पुरैव वा. ധ്രുവപദ പ്രാപ്തിക്ക് ശേഷം മഹർലോകത്തിൽ സുഖമായി വസിക്കുന്നവനായിട്ട് എപ്പോൾ അനന്തന്റെ മുഖത്തിൽ നിന്നുയരുന്ന അഗ്നിയുടെ ചൂടിനാൽ പീഡിപ്പിക്കപ്പെടുന്നുവോ അപ്പോൾ അങ്ങേ തന്നെ ശരണം പ്രാപിച്ച് ബ്രഹ്മലോകം പ്രാപിക്കുന്നു. അഥവാ ശേഷവദനാഗ്നി പീഡയ്ക്ക് മുൻപ് തന്നെ ബ്രഹ്മലോകത്തെ പ്രാപിക്കുന്നു.
Okay. So Bhattathiri continues the path of the subtle body. The subtle body now is at the Dhruva Loka. So he says, Adha, thereafter, after reaching the world of Dhruva, Astidaha Maharalaye, residing there in Dhruva Loka, then the subtle body moves to the Mahar Loka, the next Loka, the higher realm, which is the Mahar Loka. What is this Mahar Loka? This is a higher spiritual plane or realm. And this is the realm where the great sages like Markandeya Maharshi, Bhrigu Maharshi, and other great rishis, they stay in this loka. They are known for their bhakti and tabas. So such great sages, they live in Maharloka. So Bhattathiri is talking about two paths here for the subtle body from now on. The subtle body now has reached this Maharloka. Now he says, continues, Yada Sheshavaktra Dahana Ushmana, when by the heat of the fire emanating from the mouth of Adishesha, Ananda, during the Naimittika Pralaya. We'll see what it is, So when there is heat coming up from Adishesha during Naimittika Pralaya, we'll see what that is. At that time, this subtle body who is now in Maharloka, he is tormented. Because of the heat of that fire coming from Adishesha, the subtle body will, tada, then, Bhavat Ubasraya, taking refuge in Bhagavan, taking refuge in Narayana, the subtle body will Vedasaha Padam, the world of Brahma, Brahmaloka Iyade, reaches. So when during Naimittika Pralaya, and we'll see what Naimittika Pralaya is in the next descriptions, this subtle body who is now in Maharloka will directly go to Satyaloka with the grace of Bhagavan. It will move from Maharloka to Brahmaloka, Satyaloka. That is one path. Adaha Pura Eva, or what happens is, even before this Pralaya, this is when Pralaya happens, or before even the Pralaya itself, that soul will go from Maharloka to Janaloka, from Janaloka to Taboloka, and to Satyaloka. So there are two ways. One way is that once the soul the subtle body reaches Maharloka, it can then directly go to Janaloka, go to Taboloka, and go to Satyaloka. Or what happens is the soul will stay there. The subtle body will completely stay in Maharloka for a long period until Pralaya, until the dissolution, which is called a Naimittika Pralaya. And then when Naimittika Pralaya happens, because of the heat of that Pralaya, this subtle body will directly go to Satyaloka. That's what Bhattathiri is saying. Okay, so let's understand this a bit more. So first path is the soul going from Maharloka, the Loka of Maharshis, to Janaloka. Janaloka is so that is the one path. So I'm talking about this path here. Before the Pralaya, how the subtle body leaves. The subtle body can take this path where it stays in Maharloka for some period. For some time it stays in Maharloka. Then what the subtle body will do is it will then go to Janaloka. Janaloka is the Loka of the sons of Brahma, the Sanat Kumaras. The Sanat Kumaras stay in this Janaloka. So subtle body then now comes to Janaloka. And from Janaloka it goes to Taboloka. Taboloka is the Loka of intense tabas, intense meditation. It is one of the highest realm, right? That is Taboloka. It is a Loka of high penance. So the subtle body now reaches Taboloka, and then finally it goes to Satyaloka, to Brahma's Loka. And in this path, it is guided by the Amanava Purusha. The Amanava Purusha, the non-human guide, guides the subtle body to Brahmaloka. That is one path. Or else what can happen is the subtle body will stay in Maharloka itself. It will stay in Maharloka and it waits till Naimittika Pralaya. What is this Naimittika Pralaya? Naimittika Pralaya is the cosmic dissolution that happens at the end of Brahmadeva's day. And we need to understand this very carefully. And if possible today, I'll take 15 extra minutes till probably 12:45 to finish today's session, because we only have 3 more slokas after this. So Naimittika Pralaya is the Pralaya that happens during the cosmic dissolution at the end of Brahma Deva's daytime. So let's understand what that is. So Brahma Deva, who is the creator, right? The daytime of Brahma Deva is called a Kalpa. So this, imagine that this is one day of Brahma Deva, from morning till evening. The daytime of Brahma Deva is called Kalpa, and that Kalpa is these many million human years, 4320 million human years. That is the one Kalpa. One Kalpa is these many human years. And this is when creation happens. By Brahma Deva does creation, and that happens in this first in the daytime. Okay. And when night time of Brahma happens, when the night begins, a pralaya occurs. A pralaya occurs, and the 3 worlds that we saw, the Bhu, Bhuvar, and Swar Loga, the 3 worlds that we saw, I'll show that later. The 3 logas, Bhur Loga, the Loga that we reside, the Bhuvar Loga, the realm, atmospheric realm, and the Swarga Loga, Swara Loga, which is above that. Those 3 logas are destroyed by a pralaya, which is called the Naimittika Pralaya. And that Naimittika Pralaya is also of the same time period as the daytime. So it is a kalpa. Naimittika Pralaya is also one kalpa. That means this many number of years. So first of all, there is this many 4320 million human years. That is called Brahmadeva's day. That is one kalpa in which creation happens. At the end of the day, when night time happens, all of that creation in the 3 worlds, Bhur, Bhuvar, and Swar Logas, all the creation in those 3 worlds are destroyed. That is also for a period of one kalpa. This is one kalpa. Again, night time is also one kalpa. Okay. And then after that, so this night time there is pralaya, which is called the Naimittika Pralaya. And after that, the next day starts. And again the 3 creation happens by Brahma, and the 3 worlds, Bhur, Bhuvar, Swar, Logas are created. And this continues again. Then there is again another Naimittika Pralaya for next kalpa. Likewise, this continues. Okay. So Bhattathiri in this Dashaka is talking about this Naimittika Pralaya, the Pralaya that is happening here. And what is happening in this Pralaya? In this Naimittika Pralaya, that is during the night time of Brahma, what happens is there is high heat generated from the Adishesha's mouth. So Adishesha will produce fire from Adishesha's mouth. That fire will burn the 3 logas, which is Burloga, Bhuvarloga, and Swaraloga. So these 3 logas are destroyed in Naimittika Pralaya. The lower logas, they remain dormant. During this period, during the Naimittika Pralaya period, the lower logas remain dormant. There is no activity there. These 3 logas are destroyed completely. However, the higher logas remain. Maharloga, Janaloga, Tabologa, and Satiloga remain. Satiloga is where Brahma Deva resides. So Brahma Deva is also there. These logas reside, and that is during the night time of Brahma. That is again for one kalpa. And when the next kalpa, the daytime begins, again these 3 worlds are created. And this pralaya in between is called a Naimittika Pralaya, which happens again like that. So this is repeating. So Bhattathiri is saying, now, so our subtle body is now in the Maharloga, right? Our subtle body is now in the Maharloga. One path is it can directly go to Janaloga, Tabaloga, Satiloga. Another path is it stays in Maharloga until this Pralaya period. When this Pralaya happens, now what is Bhattathiri saying is that when that Pralaya happens, there is this fire from Adishesha, and that will burn this Burloga, Bhuvarloga, and Swaraloga, right? However, even though it is still Swaraloga, the high heat from that still affects Maharloga. Maharloga is the Loga just above Swaraloga, right? Even though only these 3 logas are destroyed, the high heat from the burning of these worlds, it will affect the people in Maharloga. So the subtle body is now in Maharloga. So because of the heat, it is tormented by that heat. It will then therefore directly go to Satyaloga. Because of the heat, the torment of that, the fire that is happening below in the lower worlds, which can still affect Maharloga because of that heat that is so intense, the subtle body which is in Maharloga will then therefore with the devotion to Narayana, it will go to Satyaloga. That is the path of the subtle body here. Okay. Now the subtle body has reached Satyaloga, the Loga of Brahma. Right. Now the subtle body is here. This is at the end of Naimittika Pralaya. At the end of the creation, that is when Naimittika Pralaya happens, that's when this happens. Subtle body moves from Maharloga to Satyaloga. I hope that was clear. Moving on to Sloka 13.
तत्र वा तव पदे धवा वसन् प्राकृतप्रलय एति मुक्तताम् स्वेच्छया खलु पुरा विमुच्यते സംവിഭിദ്യ ജഗദണ്ഡമോജസാ. ബ്രഹ്മലോകത്തിലോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അവിടുത്തെ പദത്തിലോ വസിക്കുന്നവനായിട്ട് യോഗി പ്രാകൃത പ്രളയത്തിൽ ബ്രഹ്മപ്രളയത്തിൽ മോക്ഷം പ്രാപിക്കുന്നു. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഇച്ഛാനുസാരം പ്രാകൃത പ്രളയത്തിന് മുൻപ് തന്നെ തൻ്റെ യോഗബലം കൊണ്ട് ബ്രഹ്മാണ്ടം പിളർന്നിട്ട് മോക്ഷം പ്രാപിക്കുന്നു.
Okay. So Bhattathiri continues. Now the subtle body is in the Satyaloka, Brahmaloka. He says, Tatrava, either there in Brahmaloka, or Tava Pade Adava, or in your world, Bhagavan, or in your world, Guruvayurappa, which is Vaikunda, Vasan, residing. So this Satyaloka also is Brahmaloka. It is also said that there is also Vishnu Loka and Shiva Loka there. But Bhattathiri is saying now the soul is in Brahmaloka, the world of Brahma, and that the soul, the subtle body resides there. It stays in that Brahmaloka. Okay, and then it waits till so there are two paths. Now again, two paths to the subtle body after reaching Brahmaloka. It will wait till the end, start of Prakrita Pralaya. The earlier Pralaya that we spoke about was Naimittika Pralaya. Now Bhattathiri is talking about Prakrita Pralaya. Prakrita Pralaya, at the time of Prakrita Pralaya, Edi Muktadam, this subtle body will attain liberation. Or the second path is Swechaya Kalupura, or even earlier, even before Prakrita Pralaya, at his will indeed, because of the yogic powers of that subtle body, with the grace of Bhagavan, before Prakrita Pralaya itself, Swechaya Kalupara, even earlier, Ojasa, by the power of that subtle body's yoga, will what the subtle body will do is Samvibidya, piercing through Jagat Andam, the Brahmanda. So the whole universe is considered to be like a cosmic sphere, an anda, an egg. That is called Brahmandam. So the subtle body will pierce through the Brahmandam and gets liberation. Vimuchyate. We'll see what this is. What happens next to the subtle body. So remember, subtle body from Maharloka has reached the Satyaloka, Brahmaloka. Now, what is then it will wait. One path is that it will wait till Prakrita Pralaya. Let's see what this Prakrita Pralaya is. So we said before, the daytime of Brahma is one kalpa. That is when creation happens. Then there is night time of Brahma, when there is a Pralaya, where the three worlds, Bur, Bhuvar and Swar Lokas are destroyed. That is called Naimittika Pralaya. That is one day. This is one day of Brahma. This is daytime, this is night time. That completes one day. Okay, again the next day starts, same thing, new creation, and the night time again the three worlds, Bur, Bhuvar, Swar are destroyed. Okay, and this continues, and 1 year of Brahma is 360 such days. So this is one day, this is daytime, this is night time, right? 360 such days makes 1 year of Brahma. Likewise, the Brahma will live for 100 Brahma years. So once again, this is daytime, this is the day of Brahma, this is the night of Brahma. That is totally 1 day of Brahma. And likewise, there are 360 such days to make 1 year of Brahma. And likewise, and from there, 100 such years, the Brahma will live. The Brahma Deva that we have currently will live for 100 such years. 50 of that year is called, so 50 years is called Prarabdha, and next 50 years also next Prarabdha. So there are two Prarabdhas of those 100 years. So let's not worry about now. So we have 100 years like that. That is the years of the Brahma. So Brahma Deva will live for this 100 years. Okay. So at the end of this 100 years, what happens is, then there is another Pralaya, which is called the Prakrita Pralaya. And this Prakrita Pralaya is of the same duration as this 100 Brahma years. So right now, this 100 years has completed. At the end of the 100th year, a new Pralaya happens, a larger Pralaya happens, which is of the same time period, duration as this Brahma years, that is 100 Brahma years. There is a Pralaya period. So that means everything in this Pralaya, what happens is, all the 14 worlds are destroyed. This Pralaya is called the Prakrita Pralaya. That happens at the end of the 100 Brahma years. That means all the 14 worlds are destroyed, including the Brahmaloka. The Satyaloka is also destroyed. That means after the Prakrita Pralaya, a new Brahmadeva comes. A new Brahmadeva originates from Narayana, and that Brahmadeva will do the creation. Okay. So once again, we have 100 Brahma years, At the end of the 100 years, there is another Pralaya, which will again for another 100 years, 100 Brahma years. And during that period, all the 14 worlds are completely destroyed. And at the end of that, again, new creation happens. So Bhattathiri is saying the subtle body comes to Satyaloka. It will wait, it will stay at the Satyaloka till this 100 Brahma years. And when this Prarabdha Pralaya starts, then the subtle body will merge with Narayana. That is one path. Or what can happen is, even before this Prarabdha Pralaya happens, maybe somewhere in between, the subtle body will go to Narayana. And when that happens, the subtle body will pierce through the Brahmanda, the egg, the cosmic egg. It will pierce through the cosmic egg and merge with Narayana. Okay, so we'll see what this is further. So Brahmanda, which is called the cosmic sphere or the egg, is a representation of our universe as a egg. So the 14 worlds that we just saw, they are essentially represented as within an egg, a cosmic sphere, an egg. We'll see in the next slokas what this egg is. And it is made up of several layers. This anda, this cosmic sphere, is made up of several layers, 7 layers. We'll see that also later. Now, you can see this. This is one universe. This Brahmanda is one universe. Maybe let's say this is the universe where we are right now. And the subtle body who has left Burloka has now reached Satyaloka. It is here now. And this is the whole Brahmanda. And this Brahmanda is coming from Narayana. And there are several such Brahmandas. So this is one Brahmanda. And there are innumerable such Brahmandas, infinite Brahmandas that is rising from Narayana and falling to Narayana all the time. Okay. So this is all there. It's like a multiverse scenario where there are so many other worlds, Brahmandas outside, all coming from Narayana. So what Bhattathiri is saying, now the subtle body, now he's here in the Satyaloka. Within this Brahmanda, it is there now in the Satyaloka. During Prarabdha Pralaya, so one thing that can happen is during this Prarabdha Pralaya, which is the cosmic dissolution at the end of Brahmadeva's life, that is after 100 Brahma years, at that time what happens is all that 14 logas of the Brahmanda are destroyed. It is not essentially a fire. What happens is, this fire is just for representation purpose. What happens is I said it has 7 layers. All the layers merge into their causes, which we will see in the next sloka. Anyway, what happens is that 14 worlds are destroyed in that Prarabdha Pralaya. And during that time, what happens is the subtle body, which is now in Satyaloka, directly merges with Narayana. So one path is the subtle body can wait till this Prarabdha Pralaya and merge with Narayana. Other path is subtle body can pierce through. Other path is before the Prarabdha Pralaya, the subtle body can pierce through the covering of the Brahmanda and merge with Narayana. That is the other path mentioned here, which we will see. So what is happening is during Prarabdha Pralaya, the subtle body has now completely merged with Narayana because everything is destroyed. This is for the liberated beings. What we are talking about here is for the yogis, the liberated beings. The non-liberated beings, they remain in their causal state still. Remember we said the causal, Karana Shariram. So the non-liberated beings, they remain in the causal state, and again they start in the next creation, they continue because they still have karma to be extinguished. So they'll have rebirth again. So we'll go to sloka 14 to understand this a bit more.
Tasya chakshidipyo maho niladyo mahat prakriti saptakavritihi tattadatmakataya dishan sukhi yadite padamanavritam vibho. ഹേ പരിപൂർണ സ്വരൂപ, യോഗി ബ്രഹ്മാണ്ടത്തിന്റെ പൃഥ്വി, ജലം, തേജസ്, വായു, ആകാശം, മഹത്വത്വം, മായ എന്നീ 7 ആവരണങ്ങളെ അതതിന്റെ സ്വരൂപത്തിൽ സൂക്ഷ്മ ശരീരത്തോടെ പ്രവേശിച്ചിട്ട് പരമാനന്ദം അനുഭവിച്ച് അവിടുത്തെ ആവരണരഹിതമായ ബ്രഹ്മസ്വരൂപത്തെ പ്രാപിക്കുന്നു.
So in the last Dashakam we said the after reaching Satyaloka, the subtle body either waits till Prarabdha Pralaya. When it waits till Prarabdha Pralaya, everything is getting destroyed at that time, and the subtle body is also getting merged with Narayana. That is one way. Or we said the subtle body before the Prarabdha Pralaya itself, it can pierce through the Brahmanda, the layers of the egg, and reach Narayana. So that is what is being described here. Vibho, But Bhattacharya is addressing Bhagavan, O all-pervading Lord. Oh, forgot to mention in the previous sloka when I showed the Narayana with several Brahmandas, they are all rising from Narayana, and in all of those eggs, all of those Brahmandas, Narayana is there. So Narayana is the all-pervading. He's there outside of the Brahmanda and he's also there inside. And each of these logas, the 14 logas, are essentially Bhagavan himself. These are all the different forms of Bhagavan, and we'll see that in the next Dashakam. So Vibho, all-pervading Lord, Tasyacha, and of that Brahmanda, but there is talking about this Brahmanda, Saptaga Avridihi. It has 7 enclosures. This Brahmanda has 7 enclosures. This cosmic sphere has 7 layers. Okay. And what are they? They are Shidi Payo Mahaha Anila Dyo Mahat Prakriti. The 7 enclosures which make up the Brahmanda, they are the 5 subtle elements, which is earth, Prithvi, water, Apas, fire, Agni, air, Vayu, space, Agasha. These are the first 5 layers. First 5 layers are our subtle elements in the Tanmatras. They make up the first 5 layers. And then we have Mahat, which is the material energy, which is the cosmic intelligence. This is the first thing that comes up from Prakriti. So we have 5 subtle elements: earth, water, fire, air, space. Then there is the intelligence, which is the buddhi, the intelligence of the universe. Mahat, that is why it's called Mahat, material energy, cosmic intelligence. And then there is a layer of Prakriti. The final layer is Prakriti, which is the Maya, the primordial nature. Prakriti is the one that is infinitely there from Narayana, right? So there is, so when the Brahmanda is actually, when it's forming, first is the Prakriti. From the Prakriti, this Mahat evolves. From the Prakriti, Mahat evolves. So this is the formation of this Brahmanda. From Narayana, there is Prakriti. Narayana is the Brahman. From Brahman, there is the Maya. Prakriti is Maya itself. So there is Prakriti. From Maya comes Mahat. From Mahat comes space. From space comes air. From air comes fire. From fire comes water. And finally earth. That's how it is created. This is the creation order. Now when it's destroyed, what happens is, when during the Prarabdha Karma, what happens is, we'll see that earth dissolves into water. It goes in the opposite way. Earth dissolves into water. Water dissolves into fire. Fire dissolves into air. Air dissolves into space. Space dissolves into this Mahat, or the cosmic intelligence. There is also ego also there in between, which ego is there. So Mahat and ego. And finally they all merge with Prakriti, which is the nature, Maya. Finally all of them merge with Maya. That is during Prarabdha Karma. That's how the Pralaya actually happens. Even though I showed it as fire in the previous slide, the way it is, everything dissolves into their causes. Finally to Prakriti. Prakriti is coming from Bhagavan itself. So Bhattacharya is saying, the subtle body, which is now in the Satyaloka, it is now passing through these layers of the Brahmanda, because it is now piercing through the Brahmanda to reach Narayana. That is the other one path. Otherwise, it can wait till the Pralaya. Even Pralaya, this is also happening. It is merging to these 5 layers. So the subtle body now, Tat Atma Kadaya vision, transcending by realizing his identity with each of them. So as the subtle body enters, first of all it enters, I'll show that it will enter each of those layers, and it will realize its identity with each of those layers. It enjoys there, Sugi. In each of those layers, it will enjoy. It will be in the, first of all, it will enter earth. So it will enter, it will experience all the benefits of earth. Then it will experience, go to water. Then it will experience all the benefits of the world of water, and dissolves to water. So the water part of the subtle body dissolves there. The fire part of the subtle body dissolves into fire. Likewise, in each loga, that part of the subtle body dissolves into that layer, and enjoys the bliss there. Yadi, finally he reaches Te Padam Anavradam, the unobstructed state, which is beyond this the covering, which is Narayana. So going through these layers, individual layers of the Brahmanda, and when it passes through each layer, it experiences the bliss of each layer, dissolves that part of that subtle body into that layer, goes to the next layer, and finally it reaches Prakriti, and finally from Prakriti it reaches Narayana, Bhagavan. That is the path of the subtle body. Even in Prarabdha Karma, as each one dissolves to the cause, the same thing is happening. Okay, now let's see this. So this Brahmanda, I just said this once already, but I'll show this. Brahmanda, if you take the section of the Brahmanda, it is made up of 7 layers: earth, Prithvi Tattvam, water, Apas, fire, Agni Tattvam, air, Vayu, space, Agasha. Then there is material energy, cosmic intelligence, and finally, Prakriti, the Maya. Prakriti is the primordial nature, nature that is that Maya that is coming from Bhagavan, which is also has the ego portion. It also has an ego portion. So the subtle body, what happens is the subtle body, I just explained this subtle body, and pierces through this layers of the Brahmanda. As it pierces through these layers, the tattvam, the earth tattvam, it dissolves into the earth tattvam. The earth tattvam of that subtle body dissolves into that. The water tattvam dissolves into the water layer. Likewise, it enjoys and realizes each of these layers, and finally it reaches the Prakriti. And once it reaches the Prakriti, it will cross that and also reach finally to Narayana. That is how the subtle body gets moksha. Now, during Prarabdha Pralaya, I already said this. What happens during Prarabdha Pralaya? All the 14 worlds are destroyed, and in that time, what happens is earth dissolves into water. Earth is consumed by water. So the earth is coming from what? This earth is a result of water. From water only earth is coming. So basically everything merges into its cause. The cause of it is Prakriti. The top layer is the cause. So earth dissolves into water. Water dissolves into fire. Fire dissolves into air. Air dissolves into space. Space dissolves into Mahatattva, and finally the Mahatattva dissolves into Prakriti. That is what happens in Prarabdha Pralaya, and then the whole Brahmanda is destroyed. 14 worlds are destroyed. And this Prakriti is the ego. So the liberated beings go from Prakriti and merge with Narayana. The unliberated beings, they remain in their causal state. Remember, that is the Karana Shariram, and that Karana Shariram is a result of ego, Maya. The Karana Shariram, we said before, the three bodies, the Karana Shariram is a result of that Maya. So the Karana Shariram of unliberated beings remain in this Prakriti, and they get born again during the next creation. Okay, going on to Sloka 15, the last Sloka.
अर्चिरादिगतिमीदृशीं व्रजन् विच्युतिं न भजते जगत्पते सच्चिदात्मक भवद्गुणोदयानुच्चरन्दमनिलेश पाहि माम्. അല്ലയോ ജഗദീശ്വര, ഇപ്രകാരമുള്ള തേജോലോകാദിഗതിയെ പ്രാപിക്കുന്നവനായ യോഗി പുനരാവൃത്തിയെ പ്രാപിക്കുന്നില്ല. സച്ചിദാനന്ദ സ്വരൂപനായ ശ്രീ ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പ, അവിടുത്തെ ഗുണോത്കർഷങ്ങളെ കീർത്തനം ചെയ്യുന്ന അടിയനെ രക്ഷിക്കണമേ.
So Bhattathiri finally ends sloka, this Dashakam, with 15 sloka, where he says, Hey Jagatpade, O Lord of the universe, Guruvayurappa, Idrishim, in this way, as explained in the previous slokas, in this way, Archiradi Gadim, the path of light, which is the Krama Mukti, the path of light, which is the Krama Mukti, where the subtle body goes through these different worlds and finally merges with Narayana. Archiradi Gadim Vrajan, passing through which Vichudim. So whoever, the subtle bodies that pass through these logas and finally reach Narayana, they will never return to samsara, because they are now merged with Bhagavan through all these logas and finally Satyaloga, and then crossing the Satyaloga, they merge with Narayana. Such beings, such yogis, such subtle bodies, they do not have any downfall after this, right? They will never return to samsara. Vichudim, downfall, na bhajade. Such yogis do not attain any downfall, because they have reached Narayana by passing through all these logas. But Bhattacharya says, Hey Satchidatmaka, O embodiment of pure existence consciousness, Hey Bhagavan, which is the Satchidananda Swarupam of Bhagavan, which is the pure consciousness, Brahman. Anilesha, O Lord of Guruvayur, Bhagavan is the Lord of the Vayu, Anila is Vayu, and the Prana, and the Lord of that Prana is Guruvayurappan. So Anilesha, O Lord of Guruvayur, Bhavat Guna Udyan, the glory of thy excellences. Bhattacharya just explained all that. Whatever he explained till now is the excellence of Bhagavan. So the glory of the excellences, Ucharandam, me who is always singing. He says, I will always continue to sing these glories. Whatever we just saw, the Naimittika Pralaya, Prarabdha Pralaya, the subtle body merging, all of these is happening from Narayana itself and originating and coming back to Narayana, which is the glory of Bhagavan. And I'll always sing this glory forever. That is what Narayana Bhattacharya is saying. Ucharandam, me who am always singing, Pahima, protect me. He's asking for protection. Essentially, he's asking that I also reach your feet, to merge with you at the end of my life. That's what Bhattathiri is saying in the 15th sloka. So with that, we complete the fourth Dashakam of Narayaneeyam. It was a slightly technical Dashakam. I hope the details were, at least a bit of it was clear to everyone. Before I end, I want to say my sincere thanks to Sharad sir for his guidance for this Dashakam and this slogas. He was so patient in helping me understand these details in the last 2 weeks, and was so patient in explaining so many of these details to me. So I pros to Sharad sir for his guidance and support. I offer this Dashakam to Ponnu Guruvayurappan's lotus feet. If there were any mistakes from my side and Anju's side, we apologize to Bhagavan and to everyone. That we end this Dashakam. Narayana Gila Guru Bhagavan Namaste. Guruvayurappa.